Every 7 days starts identically. A Monday daybreak, a new launch. Nevertheless, the majority dive into the period like a fighter falling into a combat zone. No layout, no goal, merely a schedule packed with gatherings and a mind overwhelmed with pressure. We access our mailboxes before we greet the morning. We consider our agenda prior to recalling our identities. And someplace amidst the dressing messages and marking off assignments, we disregard the key facet, the reasoning behind our actions initially. You observe the risk in commencing with what must occur, what feels pressing, what comes next, is that we start responding instead of guiding. We are present in a realm fixated on acting, striving, achieving, conveying. And while action is essential, meaningful action is what truly produces importance. It's the contrast between operating on a physical fitness device and rushing toward a location. One drains you, the other advances you. Whenever we initiate our period with what, we enter a responsive stance. We surrender command of our duration, our vitality, our choices to everything and all nearby. The sessions arranged by others, the issues generated by others, the due dates enforced by others. And quickly, we commence to feel like a traveler in our own existence. Efficient perhaps, though unfulfilled. However, there's a different method to start your period. A method that situates you as the controller. A method that secures your vitality, concentrates your actions, and restores your lucidity. You initiate with why. Not your firm's objective statement, not a motivational saying, not something you viewed via social platforms. Your why. The motive you arise, the element that renders your work significant, the effect you aspire to create, the individuals you desire to aid, the principles you wish to symbolize. That profound inner guide that reminds you that you're present to finalize tasks, you're present to enhance aspects. And whenever you commence your period by associating with your why, something influential occurs. You cease pursuing acceptance and begin selecting arrangement. You quit reacting to the sound and begin answering deliberately. You see your schedule not as a catalog of burdens, but as a chance to realize your intent. The same sessions, the same messages, the same assignments, yet now you're presenting differently. Allow me to provide a scenario. Imagine you oversee a workforce. Should your period commence with, "I must complete all my individual meetings," your vitality will mirror that. You'll seem present, though not genuinely. You'll verify the item, though not connect. Currently, envision if you initiate your period by questioning, "Why do I oversee?" And you advise yourself, "Since I trust individuals merit recognition, consideration, and empowerment to evolve." Currently, your individual meetings aren't mere sessions, they're instances of consequence. Best assignment, entirely distinct intent. This isn't mere uplifting fluff, it's strategic lucidity. Intent isn't something delicate, it's something sturdy. It anchors you amidst disturbances, it directs your judgments, it filters your concentration. In a realm where everything feels pressing, intent reminds you of what feels significant. And whenever you initiate your period with that thought, you evolve into less sidetracked, less responsive, and considerably more efficient. And here's the element the majority don't realize. Commencing with why isn't a solitary reflection, it's a tradition. Identically to scrubbing your enamel or verifying your schedule. Every Monday or Sunday night, should that suit you, you must allocate room for that inner arrangement. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it demands. Inquire yourself, why am I acting as I am? What counts most this period? Who do I aspire to embody amidst all the sound? And don't merely question, document it, articulate it audibly, render it genuine. Since lucidity isn't inactive, it's dynamic. Unless you define your why, another will define it for you. Your supervisor, your clientele, your rivals, the algorithm. That embodies the risk of commencing with what? You evolve into a reaction to another's agenda. The most grounded leaders I've encountered, those who motivate without trying, those who guide with composure amidst disarray. They all share this trait. They initiate with their schedule. They initiate with their cause. And it isn't constantly impressive. It isn't constantly transforming the globe. Occasionally, it feels as straightforward as, I aspire to aid individuals in feeling more human within a digital sphere. Or, I aspire to generate items that render life somewhat simpler for another. That feels sufficient. That feels influential, since once you grasp your why, you recognize where to direct your guide. Everything else evolves into a selection, not an obligation. Currently, envision this. Envision if every Monday, instead of dreading the period ahead, you commenced with a feeling of purpose. Envision entering your assignments with vitality, not unease. Envision knowing that even when aspects deviate, and they shall, you still recognize your identity and your purpose. That doesn't merely embody a superior period, that embodies a superior existence. Thus, the subsequent instance you notice yourself grasping for your device on Monday daybreak to verify your mail or scroll your timetable, pause, inhale, and pose yourself a distinct inquiry. Not what must I achieve today, though why does today possess significance? Inquire yourself, who requires me to present with purpose today? Inquire yourself, how might I render this period a reflection of my convictions? Since whenever you commence with why, you cease pursuing results and commence creating consequence. You cease enduring the period and commence molding it. That embodies how you initiate every period, not with urgency, though with significance. Should we aspire to impact the realm, whether within our firm, our relatives, or our society, we must guide. Though leadership doesn't commence with titles, it doesn't initiate within the boardroom or atop a platform. Leadership initiates far sooner. It initiates far sooner. It initiates with you. And specifically, it initiates with your judgment to guide yourself prior to attempting to guide another. The majority never pause to understand this, and they awaken on a Monday daybreak and leap directly into action. They transition from one dedication to another, exhausting their vitality, attempting to aid others, oversee teams, address messages, manage crises, resolve issues. They assume that presenting for all others embodies what renders them a superior leader. And indeed, presenting for others feels vital, though unless you've presented for yourself initially, then you're presenting from a location of emptiness, not fortitude. There's a motive flight personnel advise placing your own oxygen mask initially. It doesn't feel selfish, it feels responsible. Since, should you faint, you provide no aid to others. The identical holds accurate in existence and leadership. Should you enter the period depleted, sidetracked, unclear, misaligned with your principles, how might you perhaps anticipate guiding another deliberately? Self-leadership doesn't concern flawlessness, it concerns honesty. It embodies the judgment to examine within prior to verifying assignments. It embodies gazing into the mirror and questioning, where do my emotions lie currently? What am I conveying that I haven't tackled? Am I conveying lucidity or bewilderment into the areas I enter? Whenever you initiate your period by guiding yourself, by securing yourself in self-awareness, humility, and intent, then your leadership evolves into genuine, not theatrical, not positional, genuine. The individuals nearby don't demand you embody a superhuman. They demand you embody grounded. They demand to perceive your steadiness, your presence, your arrangement. And that manner of leadership solely presents whenever you've devoted time to guiding yourself initially. The leader who dedicates 15 minutes on a Monday daybreak to journaling, reflecting, inhaling, contemplating, that leader feels infinitely more efficient than the one who rushes into a workforce session already operating on fumes. Thus, what does it genuinely entail to guide yourself? It doesn't feel abstract, it feels incredibly sensible. It initiates with deliberate check-ins. Every period, prior to plunging into your responsibilities, inquire yourself a few core inquiries. What manner of individual do I aspire to embody this period? What principles shall I guide with? What limits must I safeguard my vitality? Where must I evolve? What feels like one action I might attempt to care for myself to provide assistance? These inquiries don't demand extended periods to pose, though they alter everything since they transition your mindset from inactive to proactive, from scattered to centered, from responsive to responsible. You cease entering your period attempting to endure it. You enter your period prepared to mold it. We discussed duration management extensively, though duration doesn't demand management. You demand management. Your concentration, your vitality, your mindset, your selections. That embodies leadership. Leadership doesn't concern acting more. It concerns evolving into more deliberate with your current actions. You can't outsource that. You can't delegate that. Solely you might attempt that effort. I formally conversed with a founder who consistently felt depleted. He adored his objective. He adored his workforce, though he felt drained consistently. He questioned me. How might I sustain inspiring them whenever I lack inspiration myself? And my response felt straightforward. Inspiration commences with you. Should you feel detached from your own intent, your own lucidity, your own tranquility, your workforce shall perceive that. Individuals don't adhere to your articulations, they adhere to your embodiment. Leadership doesn't concern conveying flawless discourses or conceiving all the accurate strategies. It concerns embodying someone worth adhering to, someone who mirrors steadiness amidst unstable instances, someone who radiates lucidity amidst instances of disarray, someone who renders judgments from a location of arrangement, not panic. And that manner of individual lacks birth. They're constructed every individual period, one deliberate judgment at a moment. The most influential leaders I recognize don't initiate their period by plunging into assignments. They initiate by calibrating their inner guide. They sit silently. They examine within. They reflect. They pose inquiries. They center their vitality. Since they understand, whatever I convey into this period, into this workforce, into this firm, it shall either amplify bewilderment or amplify lucidity. And I select lucidity. This doesn't concern self-care in the trendy perception. It's deeper than that. It concerns stewardship. You assume responsibility for your mindset, your reactions, your tone, your presence. You can't enter a space brimming with individuals demanding direction unless you've devoted time to discovering direction within yourself. Self-leadership embodies what permits you to present deliberately, not insecurely. It additionally grants you resilience, since whenever aspects deviate, and they shall, your capacity to respond with elegance, composure, and perspective directly ties to your internal efforts. Whenever you've guided yourself effectively, setbacks don't shake your groundwork. You feel anchored, and individuals perceive that. Individuals adhere to that. Thus, this embodies how you initiate every period. Not with disarray, not with urgency, not with distraction. You initiate with yourself. You gaze inward prior to advancing outward. You pause prior to pressing onward. You secure prior to guiding. Since leadership isn't something you activate once the Zoom conversation initiates or once you enter the workplace, leadership embodies something you convey with you into every space. And you can't convey what you haven't constructed. You desire to guide a workforce, guide yourself initially. You desire to impact, embody distinct initially. You desire to transform culture, commence with the culture of your personal contemplations, habits, and selections. That embodies the singular location sustainable leadership commences. That embodies the singular location genuine influence originates. Since the truth remains, individuals won't recall all your articulations this period. They might not recall all your actions, though they shall recall how they felt alongside you, and their sentiments alongside you shall consistently mirror your self-leadership. Every period we sit and devise strategies. We enumerate our objectives. We establish due dates. We map our priorities. We generate roadmaps and checklists and metrics, entirely to progress. Though someplace amidst that procedure, something subtle and profound frequently becomes misplaced. Amidst our fixation on our desired achievements, we disregard defining our desired presentation. We disregard that it doesn't solely concern our completed tasks. It concerns the tone we establish while completing them. Anyone might establish an objective. I aspire to finalize this endeavor. I aspire to generate increased sales. I aspire to shed 5 pounds. Objectives feel beneficial. They grant us direction, though they neglect to grant us identity. They neglect to articulate our evolving identities amidst the procedure. They neglect to mold our treatment of individuals along the route. And they undoubtedly neglect to guide our presence amidst the day-to-day grind. That embodies why you shouldn't solely establish an objective whenever you initiate your period. You should establish a tone. The tone you select doesn't concern assignments, it concerns character. It concerns your desired sentiments of others alongside you. It embodies the emotional environment you select to generate. And resembling a thermostat within a space, it impacts everyone, whether they perceive it or not. The tone you convey into a session, a dialogue, a disagreement, a due date, it molds others' responses, their engagement, their contribution, and perhaps most significantly, it molds your period's experience. There exist periods when aspects deviate. That embodies existence. Endeavors stall, messages remain unaddressed, individuals miss the mark. Though should your tone for the period embody curiosity or grace or composure, you won't feel thrown by the disarray. You'll respond deliberately, not reactively. You'll select to question, not accuse, to listen, not solely articulate. And that alters everything, since tone feels contagious. Individuals mirror it. They derive their cues from you, whether you perceive it or not. You're establishing a tone every instance you present. Envision the contrast between entering a period contemplating, I must validate myself, versus I aspire to feel present. One compels you to perform, to pursue validation, to oversee results. The other secures you in connection, awareness, and trust. Identical sessions, identical assignments, though a completely distinct emotional experience. One depletes you, the other fulfills you. We are present in a culture fixated on measurable aspects, revenue, KPIs, due dates, conversion rates. Though the facets that genuinely define our experience, the facets that ascertain whether we relish our work, trust our workforce, or feel pride regarding our identities, those facets aren't consistently measurable. Tone lacks presence within a spreadsheet, though it exists within every connection, every instant of disagreement, every act of generosity, every instance someone feels heard or dismissed. And whenever you initiate your period by selecting that tone knowingly, you generate a ripple effect that feels considerably more influential than attaining any target. Contemplate the leaders who've impacted you extensively. Odds remain it wasn't solely their accomplishments that motivated you. It embodied their manner. Perhaps it embodied their composure amidst a disturbance, or their compassion amidst a crisis. Perhaps it embodied their steadiness, their quiet fortitude, their capacity to render you feeling valued. That didn't concern strategy, that embodied tone. And it lacked accident. They selected it. Currently, envision what occurs whenever you initiate your Monday with a question, what tone do I aspire to establish this period? Do I desire this to embody a period of valor where I articulate even amidst discomfort? A period of tolerance where I decelerate and listen instead of hurrying to respond? A period of ingenuity where I pursue novel concepts and welcome errors as a component of the procedure? These lack delicate intention. They embody strategic commitments since tone influences conduct, and conduct constructs culture. Indeed, this matters even more should you occupy a position of leadership, since individuals consistently observe, not judgmentally, humanly. They're picking up on your mood, your vitality, your expressions, your timing. They perceive your tone prior to grasping your articulations. Should you feel anxious, they'll perceive pressure. Should you feel dismissive, they'll shut down. Should you feel hopeful, they'll trust they might attempt. You needn't embody flawless, though you must embody deliberate. And here embodies the exquisite facet. Tone lacks control by your circumstances. It feels controlled by your judgment. You needn't a flawless period to select a generous tone. You needn't a tranquil schedule to select a peaceful attitude. Tone embodies something you determine, not something you await. You might confront a dozen stressful sessions and still select to guide warmly. You might feel buried in work and still select to articulate kindly. That embodies power. That embodies presence. That embodies leadership. It additionally aids you in reconnecting to your intent whenever aspects feel arduous. Whenever the agenda expands faster than your capacity, whenever you misplace sight of the broader perspective, returning to your selected tone conveys lucidity. You recall, oh, correct, I'm not solely present to finalize tasks. I'm present to generate something meaningful. I'm present to depart individuals superior to my discovery. I'm present to embody my convictions, even amidst the most miniature instant. That embodies tone's actions. It conveys soul back to strategy. Thus, the subsequent instance you're sitting on a Sunday night or a Monday daybreak strategizing your period, don't halt at your required actions. Advance one step further. Inquire yourself, who do I aspire to embody while acting? Since whenever the sessions conclude, whenever the messages vanish, whenever the objectives attain or miss, individuals shall recall your presence, not your output. You're proceeding into spaces this period where your tone shall either uplift or suppress others. It shall either construct trust or generate tension. It shall either align individuals or fracture your connection. And every instance you acquire the opportunity to determine, not once, every day, every session, every instant, commence with tone. Since whenever you grasp that accurately, the objectives tend to ensue. There embodies something we tend to disregard amidst our pursuit of efficiency. We feel overly occupied concentrating on our required accomplishments that we disregard attending to our companions throughout the period. We discuss strategy, we discuss objectives, we discuss performance, though we lack sufficient discussion regarding connection. We lack sufficient discussion regarding individuals, and individuals embody everything. Every magnificent concept acquired realization via a workforce. Every daring judgment acquired ease or difficulty via the caliber of connections behind it. Every workplace culture, whether uplifting or shattering individuals, commences with human connection. Not solely communication, not solely collaboration, connection. The emotional bond that secures individuals collectively whenever aspects feel disordered, whenever tensions surge, whenever uncertainty sets. Thus, whenever you initiate your period, one of the key actions you might attempt embodies identifying the key individuals you must deliberately connect with. Not for a status update, not to delegate assignments, though to construct trust, to align, to listen, to support. Since lacking that, everything else evolves into more arduous than its requirement. Connection lacks a luxury, it embodies a necessity. It lacks the facet you squeeze in should duration permit. It embodies the facet that grants all your duration significance. And unless you select to prioritize it, you shall default to transactions. You'll converse with individuals whenever you demand something. You'll examine in solely when an issue arises. You'll treat connections resembling instruments instead of ecosystems. And gradually, that generates distance, mistrust, disengagement. Currently, here embodies the facet. Connection doesn't demand grand gestures. It commences with straightforward human inquiries. How are you genuinely performing? What feels arduous for you lately? What excites you this period? How might I support you superiorly? These lack productivity inquiries. These embody relationship inquiries. And they matter considerably more than the majority of the facets that capture our attention on Monday daybreak. We underestimate the power residing within a 5-minute dialogue, within a check-in that neglects performance, within an instant of silence where someone feels secure articulating the truth. That embodies where connection constructs, not amidst all hand sessions or performance evaluations, though amidst quiet, ordinary instance where individuals feel recognized, heard, and valued. Thus, prior to the period's full swing, dedicate a moment and inquire yourself, who must I reconnect with this period? Which individual on my workforce drifts currently? Who's been quieter than usual? Who's been conveying more than their disclosure? Who might benefit from an instant of encouragement or an inquiry that demonstrates your genuine concern? That embodies leadership. Not resolving every issue, not embodying the loudest articulation, not grasping all the responses, though noticing. embodying sufficiently present to perceive what others might miss, and then selecting to lean in. Since whenever individuals feel connected, they contribute more, they collaborate superiorly, they recover faster, they trust deeper. And amidst a realm where the majority feel overworked and unseen, your attention embodies one of the most generous gifts you might extend. Connection additionally aids in resolving issues prior to their evolution into disagreements. It permits you to extend feedback without fracturing rapport. It grants individuals the benefit of uncertainty, since a groundwork of trust already exists. You're not solely coworkers, you're allies. And that embodies the contrast between enduring an arduous period and evolving by it. I recall conversing with a leader once who articulated, "My workforce performs effectively, though they feel disconnected. It feels as though we're all within the identical structure, though on distinct islands." That feels commonplace, particularly whenever we permit urgency to override humanity. We disregard that even the most skilled, motivated individuals demand to feel belonging. Not solely inclusion, belonging. The sentiment that you matter here, that someone would notice your absence, that your identity feels more significant than your production. That lacks accident. It occurs whenever someone selects to connect. Whenever someone articulates, "I recognize you, I hear you, I care regarding you." Even whenever we lag behind schedule, and the optimal duration to render that selection exists currently, at the period's commencement, prior to aspects feeling hectic, prior to your schedule filling, prior to your slip into autopilot. Because once the period feels in motion, it feels simple to disregard. It feels simple to trade connection for efficiency, though that trade consistently feels costlier than its appearance. You can't optimize your route into trust. You can't automate empathy. You must present for it. You must select it again and again. Even 5 minutes of genuine presence might transform an individual's day. A miniature instant of shared laughter. A message articulating, "You've been performing magnificently, and I solely desired you to grasp. I recognize that." A swift call articulating, "Hey, no agenda, solely examining in." These lack distractions from work, they embody the work. Since work lacking connection evolves into soul draining, and no metric might remedy that. Thus, whenever you initiate your period, attempt a distinct approach. Prior to questioning, "What must I accomplish?" inquire, "Who must I connect with?" Contemplate your workforce, your colleagues, your clientele, your relatives, your companions. Contemplate the individuals who trust you, the individuals who depend on your vitality, your lucidity, your compassion. And allocate duration for them. Allocate room for the human aspect of leadership. Since at the period's conclusion, whenever the assignment's finalized and the reports file, individuals shall convey your presence, not your speed, not your efficiency, though your empathy, not your flawlessness, though your capacity to render them feeling they lacked solitary passage. That embodies connection's impact. It feels quiet, it feels subtle, it feels invisible on a spreadsheet, though it feels unforgettable within someone's heart. Every period presents a selection, not solely a catalog of assignments or objectives, though a deeper judgment. Shall I proceed intentionally throughout this period, or shall I merely react to it? That solitary inquiry, posed honestly, possesses the power to mold the course of your period and ultimately your existence. The truth remains, the majority don't reside intentionally. They reside with momentum. They awaken and commence reacting to all incoming aspects, messages, sessions, issues, notifications, requests. From the instant they verify their devices, they're no longer selecting their day. Their day selects them. And following 5 days of reacting, they attained Friday, contemplating the period's destination, contemplating their sustained disconnection, contemplating their excessive busyness, yet feeling their lack of genuine advancement. This embodies the great risk of a reactive existence. It might feel brimming while feeling completely unfulfilling, because acting more lacks identity with acting what matters. Movement lacks progress should it embody the incorrect direction. And success, at least the manner that departs you with tranquility and pride, never occurs accidentally. It occurs whenever we select to reside purposefully. That commences at the period's commencement.
Intentionality concerns lucidity. It embodies the willingness to pause sufficiently to inquire what matters most this period. Not what feels most pressing, not what feels loudest, not what everyone else anticipates, what matters most. The instant you pose that inquiry, you enter a distinct manner of leadership, the manner that lacks molding via pressure, though via principle. Residing intentionally doesn't signify your control of everything. In fact, the most intentional individuals I recognize don't embody those with the flawless schedule. They embody those who recognize their convictions. Even whenever the schedule collapses, they're not thrown by alteration, since their guide feels internal, not external. Their priorities feel chosen, not imposed. That embodies why the period's commencement feels significant. It embodies the instant where you either reclaim that guide or surrender it. It embodies where you either establish the rhythm or permit the sound to assume control. And one of the most influential routes to enter intentionality embodies identifying your non-negotiables, the facets that, despite chaotic instances, you shall not compromise. A non-negotiable might embody something straightforward though
Allocating 30 minutes for yourself every day break prior to work. It might embody scheduling an individual meeting with a workforce member who's been slipping. It might embody maintaining your device distant during dinner alongside your relatives. It might embody safeguarding one afternoon each period to attempt profound, uninterrupted creative work. These embody the anchors that prevent your drifting. These embody the declarations of what matters most, not theoretically, though practically. Though you can't await midweek to define them, because by Wednesday the demand's already pour. By Thursday, your vitality feels stretched. By Friday, you're operating on residual power. Unless you define what matters prior to the period's definition, you'll consistently occupy the mercy of everything and everyone nearby. There embodies a term I revisit frequently whenever I contemplate intentionality: arrangement. Whenever you're aligned, your actions and your principles correspond. There embodies harmony between your convictions and your conduct. And the most fulfilling periods, those where you reminisce and feel pride, not solely productive, embody those where arrangement felt present. That embodies why it lacks sufficiency to finalize tasks. You must inquire, did I embody my convictions? And that doesn't consistently feel simple, since existence feels noisy. The inbox feels brimming. The sessions feel stacked. The schedule neglects deceleration solely due to your desire for increased intentionality, which embodies why it doesn't concern awaiting flawless conditions. It concerns rendering a selection regardless, even amidst the disarray. I recall a dialogue I maintained with a leader who articulated, "I feel I'm consistently reacting, resembling my soul play embodies defense all period long." And I articulated, then perhaps it embodies duration to cease questioning your required actions and commence questioning your desired identity. Since whenever you recognize your desired identity, whenever you define the principles that shall guide your judgments, the manner of presence you desire to convey, the manner of leader, parent, partner, or companion you desire to embody, the actions ensue. It evolves into simpler to decline what lacks significance. It evolves into simpler to navigate arduous dialogues. It evolves into simpler to safeguard your vitality, your concentration, your soul. Intention doesn't concern control, it concerns commitment. Control articulates, I demand all aspects proceed according to strategy. Intention articulates, even whenever aspects collapse, I won't disregard my convictions. That embodies true confidence's origin, not from grasping every step beforehand, though from trusting your integrity regardless of the terrain. Thus, as the new period commences, grant yourself the gift of decelerating for mere minutes. Sit silently, reflect, inquire yourself, what genuinely matters to me this period? What manner of presence do I desire to convey into my work, into my connections, into my personal existence? Document it, articulate it audibly. Declare it to someone who shall hold you accountable. Since the instant you select your intention, your period commences shaping, not based on pressure, though purposefully.
And here embodies its exquisiteness. The increased practice of intention, the decreased exhaustion of your period. Not because it feels less occupied, though because you're no longer pursuing everything. You're selecting what matters. And whenever you select what matters, you cease pouring vitality into draining facets. You cease reacting to every ping and commence responding to your mission's alignment. That embodies burnout's prevention. That embodies fulfillment's construction. One intentional period at a moment. Thus, prevent this period's subsequent blur. Prevent its surrender to urgency. Prevent your schedule's dictation of your character. Commence intentionally. Commence lucidly. Commence with a judgment. I shall not solely endure this period. I shall reside it purposefully. Since whenever you initiate your period purposefully, you grant everyone nearby permission to replicate. And that embodies the commencement of a radically distinct culture, one where individuals don't solely work, they thrive.